Hello folks, it's Mark with Launchpad B, and I'm coming in today to share some pointers or share some tips that'll help you guys make better training content or training videos as you're moving into the fourth quarter. Now, I have seen a tremendous amount of video content out there that's been created by other merchandising companies or just companies in general, and a lot of them tend to kind of fall into this category where they basically set a camera up in a static location and then perform the entire job from one camera angle. Now, it's better than nothing, right? So I'm not trying to knock those folks out there, but what I want to do today is kind of show you guys some things that I do in the video content that I create and how it benefits folks. So let's go ahead and jump in, and I'm going to show you some examples and we'll talk about it. Now, the first thing you want to start off with in a training video, this is basically like an LMS rule. You always want to start with what's the purpose? What are we trying to achieve in this project? For this example, I'm installing a chemical injection system and I need to explain to the installers how it's supposed to function. But let's say you're setting something up in retail and you need to explain how the display is supposed to interact with or how it's supposed to function afterwards. This step is very important. You always want to start off with telling them what the point is. And the main reason is that people know that they did the job correctly. The next thing that I do that's very important is provide people with an upfront checklist. It's like the part listing at the front of the instructions that most people typically tend to skim over. Now, in some situations, when you show up to a location to do a job, whether it's merchandising or some kind of a project, you want to verify you have all the parts you need to get started. The worst thing you can do is tear something apart, realize you're forgetting parts or don't have parts, and then you leave a store or a situation in disrepair or non-functioning, or you got to put it all back together again. So absolutely important to always provide people with a checklist. Another thing that I like to do is to do what's called a part presentation. I don't know if that's the official word, but I basically hold the part up to the camera and I tell them, next we'll be installing this item here, and I kind of show it in very good detail. Sometimes there's parts that look very similar to one another, or sometimes you got a part that goes on the left and a part on the right, and if that's the case, I may add some arrows under to really identify like what the difference is, but it's very important that you take a moment to basically present each part as it's going in so that we know that we have the right part. Another thing that I do for some parts that are very critical is to describe what the function is. In this example here, we've got what's called a flow switch. It's got an inlet and an outlet, very specific, the way it has to be oriented, and I also talk about how the water will flow through it. This is a plumbing application. But again, if it's an important part, it's good to explain to somebody what it does and how it's supposed to function, as well as how to connect it. Now, there's two things I don't typically see in most training content that's very important, and that's getting up close to the detail. The first I want to talk about is just getting close for emphasis. Not necessarily a necessary shot, but it really helps. Like an example here, I start off wide, we cut close for the detail, and then we finish out wide again. Again, it's maybe not hugely beneficial, but it will help anybody out there who's doing a step and maybe they're not really sure if they're doing it right. When you get up close like that, it'll really help with the detail. The next type of close-up I want to talk about is the one that's very deliberate. Let's say in this example here, we're connecting this discharge hose into this pump. And we want to make sure we're connecting on the right side, so we get nice and close so that the installer can tell what it is. I also add callouts, or basically labels, that identify what the connection is. Well, I'll basically say, connect the discharge hose to the outlet of the pump, and I'm calling it out as you're doing it. And then I go through some additional detail to kind of show like how to connect the fairing, and then how to connect the connecting nut to it to secure it in place. But again, this type of detail is a tremendous help when somebody's following through a video. Now, the last thing I'll share with you right now is another important thing to do is to give your installers breathing room. And what I mean by that is, if you provide them with a 5-minute video or 10-minute video and you're just rushing through the entire job all the way through, it's literally like a marathon. You want to stop periodically. After every major step is completed, you want to stop and let them know, at this point, this is what your installation should look like. And you kind of keep it there on screen for a good, 5 to 10 seconds. You want them to double check their work as they're progressing through. Number one, it verifies that they're on the right path. Number two, it gives their brain and themselves a chance to catch their breath. Now, there's a lot of other things that I do in video content that makes them solid, makes them good and easy to follow, and helps people through, but I'm trying to keep this video short. If anybody would like to learn more about videos or video content or some of the other things that I do, feel free to reach out. But thanks for your time, and I hope this video has been beneficial.